going to try just to explain a little basic snaring stuff. We'll do some actual snaring out in the field on some videos. This isn't meant to be a tutorial on in the field snaring. This is just about snares and snaring in general. Kind of a bad weather day out, and I'm just trying to cover what I was going to consider to be the front half or front end of my snaring video when I make one. So this particular snare, and this isn't Iowa legal yet because we're in my actual shop. I haven't attached a deer stop to it yet. However, legal in a lot of other states. This is known as a cam lock. A cam lock is a very, very fast lock. Pretty much all I use anymore are cam locks. There's nothing wrong with slim locks and other styles of locks, but I prefer the cam lock, and it can be reused a lot, just without wear, causing the lock to become less lethal, for lack of a better term. This is a 3/32 snare, still shiny. I don't set them in the field shiny like this. I either paint them or get them dull gray, one or the other. So this is fresh in the shop. So what you can do is run a support wire, and typically I run a number 9 support wire. A friend of mine runs a number 11 support wire, and I like those two. Nothing wrong with them. In fact, I may buy a roll and have some in the truck because it's not bad. It fits in places. It's nice to have a collar of sorts. You take your pick. I don't like the spring looking ones very well. The cam lock ones, or the cam lock, I'm sorry, the whammies, what's originally been called a whammy, those are good. I like those, but the lighter spring ones that are tapered, I have zero use for. I won't even try to use them anymore. So what the support wire should do is hold your snare up to the height you want it and in place, and ideally the only part of your snare that should move should be the lock. Okay, this snare isn't loaded or anything like that. It's just a standard, well, in the process of being built snare. But the more you tweak your support wire, the better in the wind these snares are. If I have my support wire like so, then a little bit of wind can catch this and start walking my lock down. So if I'm running my support wire at, say, 12 o'clock, right, my support wire, my collar and my support wire, then I'll catch animals and stuff, but on a windy night I'll have some snares get walked closed. Also, if a rabbit or something hits the bottom of it, especially if it's a loaded snare, it can pop closed with nothing in it, where when I crank it up to, say, 10 o'clock, even 11 o'clock is better, then less of that will happen. The full-size animal has to hit the snare to get the snare lock to commit to the catch, as opposed to being able to be walked down by the wind or bumped and brushed from underneath by a smaller animal. So those are all things that I like about putting my support wire where I want it and not just accepting whatever the location gives me. So, and basically snares are set, most of you already know, and we will be in the field with these, so don't worry too much about it. I'm just kind of talking about some basics here. In trails and walkways and places we're going to ambush them, it's basically a blind set. So I don't want any bait with snares, because frankly I want predictably the animal's head. By saying that, I don't mean a large bait maybe in the area that gets them milling and stalling out. I'm talking about bait somewhere within the vicinity of the snare. that's going to cause that animal to move his head one way or the other. I want his head predictable as far as how he's running with it. If you don't have a collar, a decent support collar, and you're just wanting to support this thing, you can just as easily use a piece of mechanics wire. Any light duty softer wire will do. Do basically the same thing, and you can also do this on the bottom of, say, a woven wire fence if they're coming under. I always want this snare anchored right above the lock. I do not want this to move. I don't want to tie it with weeds and wrap it and do all kinds of other creative things. I want that baby to be held solid. We'll talk about anchoring snares and stuff out in the field, because I would want to show you things that I can't show you here, as far as preserving the trail, as far as getting your animal over and away, things along those lines. So we're not going to talk about anchoring right now at all. We're just talking about supporting and a little bit about styles of locks. So that's just a standard cam lock setup there. I call it just kind of a meat and potatoes snare. You can use it for just about anything. Back in the old days, it used to be my go-to snare. So, I'll show you this. Okay. Now this support collar is what's commonly referred to as a whammy by most trappers. This particular setup also has a cam lock setup. It has a kill spring, lethal kill spring, and it has a breakaway device that if an animal larger than a coyote gets caught, this S-hook is a weak link in the snare that's designed to break away, let the animal go, and the snare just stays right where it was. I will say on anchoring, if you've got a breakaway device and you know the breaking strength of that breakaway device and you're counting on it to work, you have to have it anchored to something that's more solid than that. The weakest link in your snare can't be where it's anchored. So this has got your deer stop. This is Iowa ready, Iowa legal, ready to rock and roll to go snare some coyotes or catch some coyotes. So anyway, these support collars are just fine. The ones I don't like are the little springs that are kind of tapered. You might like them a whole lot. I do not. So notice that this kill spring or lethal spring has got a washer associated with it to keep it in place, you know, just in case that first initial lunge is a hard one, you're going to keep your animal. So that's what this setup is. This particular snare is loaded and ready for the field, which is why it looks, it doesn't have the teardrop to it. This is why it looks so rounded. And I may do a thing on loading snares, so not today, but eventually. So there's that style of snare. This would be what I would use for coyotes primarily. Keep with me here, guys. Alright. This particular snare is not Iowa legal. I think it's probably left over from my trip to Arkansas a couple years ago. By not Iowa legal. It does not have the deer stop. So if you're setting this in Iowa, you need a deer stop. This snare is not loaded. You see the teardrop shape. This would be my preferred position for the lock. This is a different type of a lethal spring. As you see, we have an S-hook here that's designed to break away if anything larger gets in it. Something on this snare that you may love, I do not like, is this support collar with the airline tubing, aquarium tubing. It's too tight. It's a pain in the butt to work with when you got cold fingers and it's really cold. It's hard to jam on the wire. Whenever I get snares with these on them, if I didn't manufacture them myself, I just disregard those and I go straight to mechanics wire or a lighter wire for tying off to my support wire.